Welcome to the TNet podcast. Like, comment, share, subscribe, click on that bell for notifications for upcoming shows. And if you're listening on Apple Music or Spotify, give us a follow and give us a rating. That would be fantastic. Also, leave comments in the comments section. It greatly increases our reach within the YouTube algorithm. Upcoming shows we've got for you Jay Ost from Ambitions with Honor, and he's also an author that's going to be on the 16th of March at 5 p.m. Scott Danow from Bleeding Through and the Suffering on the 23rd of March at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Daniel Dombrowski on the 26th of March at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. She's a photographer. Russ Cogdell from Zayo the 30th of March at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Peter Edge from Inclination. That's going to be on the 6th of April at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Jeff Gretz from Zayo from Autumn to Ashes on the 13th of April at 5 p.m. Monica Tanner, she's a doctor, a straight edge psychologist. She's a pilot, and she's a cancer survivor. That's going to be on 420, a straight edge person on 420. How about that? And the 27th of April, Donnie Polinsky, the DRP, and also Primer 55, and Suburban Noise Records and Force 5 Records, also at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And just added Gina Marie Campbell on the 4th of May. She's in Scarhead and Revival at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Still working on a date for Frank Novinec from Hatebreed, Integrity, Terror, Ringworm. And as you can see at the bottom of the screen, I've got an official merchandising company, Hell's Heart Merch Co. Go to hellsheartco.bigcartel.com. Use the code 20 for 20% off your entire order. If you like hardcore shirts or you like music-themed shirts or movie-themed shirts, you got to check it out. Bella Canvas Tri-Blend shirts, 50% polyester, 25% cotton, 25% rayon. Pick one up. They feel like a dream. Use the code 20. You'll save a lot of money. All right. My next guest today, it's a real honor and privilege to have her on the show. I first discovered her through... she had a few songs that were featured on the Terminator soundtrack as the group Tahnee Cain and the Tryanglys. And I don't exaggerate this when saying that anytime my buddies and I get together, those songs are in constant rotation. We loved it. I did a little bit more research and I found out she was active on the social media outlets, so I decided to reach out. She's also an actress. She's appeared in several feature films. She's a director. She's got a film out now called Seance Prime Metaxu. It's streaming anywhere, and she is also an author, and she trains horses. She's a woman of many talents. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Tané McClure. Thank you for being here, Tané.
Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. And I must say, your introduction of your show is pretty fabulous, too. I was rocking to the music and enjoying it very, very much. Yes. I'm honored to be here. I appreciate you reaching out to me. Yeah. You have to tell the story about the whole Reddit thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Initially, because here's the story. Here's the story that was told to me, which was circulating around social media, was the fact that, like I said, the songs are on the Terminator soundtrack. When you listen to Ginger, whenever she's listening to songs on the Walkman, that's one of your songs. And then the other two songs are whenever Sarah Connor goes into the Tech Noir Club.
Right.
And
Burning in the Third Degree. Right.
Right. And Photoplay. Yeah. So my friends and I were like, these songs are awesome. We should find out more about this. And then I started digging around, and one of my buddies was like, yeah, it was a group, and they were not an actual group. And I was like, oh, wow, that's interesting. They should have been, given the talent that was behind it. And I found on Reddit where it said that somebody was saying the same thing, and then you had chimed in and we're saying, no, that's not true. We toured and we played in front of 20,000 people with Jefferson Airplane and all sorts of other groups. And I was like stunned. I was like, oh, wow. And so then I had to reach out. So, yeah, talk about that a little bit.
Okay. So can you see this? I don't know if it'll get into focus or if it chooses to or not. I don't know. I just all of a sudden decided to pull that out. Oh, there we are.
Okay.
Can you see it? This is us on tour. Okay. So we were absolutely a real band. And this is us during a reunion. Okay. Ricky Phillips. Wow. Muggs Kane. Like Dave Amato. If you guys know music, so we were definitely a real band. We toured with, like, it makes me feel old, Jefferson Starship, and oh my God, we went on tour everywhere. So, and the music that you hear on the Terminator soundtrack, that's me singing, and that is that band, or most of them. It's just variables and things like that. And I think some of that got started because of who my husband was at the time. And then people thought, with Jonathan Cain of Journey, oh, she's just this, his trophy wife or something like that. And unfortunately, that whole thing actually was part of the reason what hurt the band. I mean, it really hurt us badly. The true story is I was already a singer when I met him. That's how we met. So, and he was in the band called The Babies, who at the time I didn't even know who they were, but they were a pretty good band too. And when we got married, I'm like 9 or 10 years younger than Jonathan Cain. And I like to say 10, but it's 9. But when we got married, he was still in The Babies, and I had offers and record deal offers with Atlantic Records, and all different kinds of things, because like I said, I was a singer. My grandmother was an opera singer, so singer. And then he joined Journey while I was in negotiations with Atlantic Records and all these Geffen Records even. And then CBS Records even came into it, which is Journey's label, right? And then RCA. So I ended up signing with RCA Records. But here was the bad thing. My husband, I'm young, I was like 21. And he was like, you need to change your name, because my real name is Tané McClure. My dad was an actor, to Tahnee Cain, because you're married to me. And I'm not trying to say he's a bad guy or anything like that, but he was insistent. And I said, I think that's going to be dangerous, because they're going to think, Tahnee Cain, Jonathan Cain, now it's Journey's wife. And I was modeling too at the time, which is like model, but I was a singer for crying out loud. So what ended up happening, yes, my first album came out. I had a single called Holding On, and it was fairly successful. But the critics often compared me to Pat Benatar, which one would think is a compliment. But this whole manufactured whatever they might have thought, that kind of hurt the album. So that album didn't do as well as we wanted. But then my manager at the time, Bud Carr, who I'm still really good friends with, basically got an opening for me. And by this time, to make a long story short, I wrote the song Burning in the Third Degree. And he felt, my God, I think that song would be really good for this movie called The Terminator. So long story short, eventually I had split with my husband, everything like that. But it was my song, my master with the band. And we gave it to James Cameron. And they went, oh my God, this is a great song. And those songs ended up being more popular than what I had recorded while I was still pretty much with Jonathan Cain. Anyway, so the frustrating part is that then after that, I signed to WGG, CBS Records, and I was on tour doing all these different things. But you know how the world can be. They assume a lot of things, and that kind of damaged the career. But yeah. So real band, and these guys would defend me. They'd be mad too. They were like, real singer, went on the road, sang all over the place. It was Cow Palace. I don't even know if it's still there, but up in Northern California, 20,000 people. And then we sang in, so many places. Got my voice hoarse in Las Vegas. So that's the story. But I was like, and then somebody on Reddit was saying, wait, how do we know this is really Tahnee Cain? And I'm like, oh.
I saw that.
I'm like, oh my God.
They wanted you to send them a selfie.
Well, not just a selfie, like a video or like a something. And I'm like, what? No. I go, just Google me. Finally, the world figured out that Tané McClure and Tahnee Cain is the same thing. Because then after he and I split up, I would use Tahnee Cain and Triangles more, because I wanted to give credit to the band. If it wasn't a real band, why would I even do Triangles? I wanted to give credit to them because they wrote Burning in the Third Degree with me. I wrote the melody and the lyrics, and the band wrote the music. So
the confusion,
that's that.
The confusion comes from they think that Jonathan manufactured the band as a result.
I kind of think that's what it was. I think that's where it started, because I was outshined, which makes total sense. Journey at the time was really huge. And, and then, it was sort of like, I was modeling. I don't know. I just think people want to go, wait a minute, that can't really be her voice. And how did this happen? But you guys, this was before, we didn't have auto-tune back then. I'm old. Yeah. There was no such thing. So that was my voice. So, yeah, I mean, they did have that Milli Vanilli scandal, but that was years, I think, a little bit after. And that still wasn't auto-tune. That was somebody entirely different. And right. I was on tour. And I did go and open for like Linda Ronstadt in Germany and all different kinds of things. So I was around. But the sad thing, to be honest with you, if we're going to kind of go full circle about my music career, is I probably became the strongest singer that I had ever been when I was about 35. And I was still singing, and I had a couple different record deals and different single deals and things like that. But the wind was really knocked out of my sails because of critics and me taking to heart when somebody would knock my abilities or what they thought I was. I mean, when I do perform live, I was pretty confident because I did fairly well usually. And so funny, I'm going to cheat because earlier before we went live, you had said something to me, and I'm going to cheat because I'm going to bring it up now. It's true.
Okay.
What would I say to my younger self?
Go ahead.
Keep believing in yourself. Believe that you can be limitless. Don't cut yourself short. Because when I kind of slowly started to stop singing professionally, I did sing on certain things for certain people and musicals and stuff. Like, it's not like it totally stopped. Was because, like, I don't know, my heart wasn't into it as much. And oddly, over the last decade or so, there's been such a rise in Terminator Soundtrack fans where people are like, oh my God, your music is amazing. And I'm going to take it one step further. And the people that have covered my song, because there's people that have covered my song, and no offense to most of them, if you Google it, you'll see there's a lot of You Got Me Burning and Third Degree covers. Most of them are not very good. And the reason why they're not very good, I'm sorry, is because the singers can't hit the notes because it's a pretty big range. And then I was listening to it. Some of them are good, though. I'm not saying all bad. And I was listening to it, and I'm like, wait, you can't sing this song? Wait, I wrote. And then I went, oh, holy Blipsky. I was pretty good. I want to say something else. Maybe I will. And then and it's sad, kind of. Doesn't mean I have to sing, until I'm 80. I'm not really suggesting that. But how badly I beat my own self up about it. But I'm kind of a chameleon in the sense that I just go, all right, and then I move on to something else. And I don't quit other things necessarily, but I'm a chameleon, and I go, all right, I'm going to do this now. I'm going to act. And then eventually I'm directing and producing and editing. And so that's how a lot of those other things started to come into play. So I just kind of transformed into anything and everything that I want to be. And I think I'm probably talking things you might have wanted to ask me a question. How rude of me. But I think right now, at this point in my career, I'm probably in the best place. It's not saying that it doesn't make me nervous, because now I'm a producer, director, writer, and I'm a professional film editor. Woof. And I've been a professional editor for 20 something years. And a lot of people didn't know that. And I became one because I had ideas, and I was working on certain film projects and development ideas with one of my writing partners, Ty Caravelli. And we would, shoot these little pilots or whatever. And it wasn't until that I knew how to be a good editor that I knew that I could take an idea, because I can write and I can direct and I can even run a little camera and I can produce. But there was one last step, was editing. And when I learned that, I went, whoa, okay, beginning, middle, and end, and I can deliver. And, shoot forward to where we are right now. I have multiple films that have been completed. Trance is a film I produced years back. Seance Games Metaxu is the actual name of the current film that's out right now everywhere. That's an independent horror film. Nisha Katran and Sylvester Bowen are executive producers on that. If you're watching, I love you. And Andrew James Ferguson stars. I mean, there's like lots of great acting in that. They did a great job. And that film got really good distribution with Gravitas and worldwide distribution, and Adler and Associates for foreign. And again, it's everywhere. You can rent it on Amazon. It's even on Tubi, but it had a really good worldwide release. So I'm happy about that. And then I have another movie called Caitlin's Chance that I'm a writer producer on that's currently in post-production. And that is a story about a young woman and her horse, because I'm a horse person. I kind of write pretty generally close to what I know. And then I hope I'm not over talking, but I have so many films in development that are slated to shoot this year. One in particular I'm really proud of is Ethan Almighty, which is a beautiful story about a real dog that inspired Kentucky to change its anti-cruelty laws. And it's a beautiful, beautiful family faith film. So that's in development. Jeff Calloway is the actual real guy in the movie that the story's based on. It's a long story. He adopts this dog, and it'll break your heart and also uplift you at the same time. And then I have a huge list of other films that I'm working on. I don't know. Do you want me to talk about? I have like Dead Rome, would you believe, is a gladiator zombie movie that is in early production. The plan is to shoot this in June. We are talking to Crispin Glover. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Love Crispin Glover.
I know. And Michael Pare we're also talking to, and hopefully this will all work out. It's a Michael Pare, Dead Rome. It takes itself seriously. It does, but it's a zombie movie. So
I love zombie movies.
It's going to be fun. Yeah. No, so we're surely going to have a great cast, and I have a really wonderful DP, Keith Jeffries, that I've been working with a lot actually. We just completed most of the principal photography for a film called Last Flare. I gave you some trailers.
Yeah, you did.
Can you play any?
I can. Yeah, I was going to get to it. Well,
you ask questions. I'll shush.
Okay. I was going to go back to your background a little bit, because, you come from an acting dynasty. Your dad was Doug McClure, who was on The Virginian. And I had read that you actually performed on the show with him when you were 5 years old. And tell us a little bit about that and what it was like kind of growing up in a family of performers and actors.
Well, yeah, I played an orphan on The Virginian. And I don't know, for me, honestly, since I grew up with my dad, I didn't know any different. I thought, that was normal, and getting up and going with my dad to the set, and everything was make believe. And I feel a little spoiled to say this, but I think it's a unique experience and might as well share. My horse, Tallow, was a little gray Arabian, was actually boarded at one point when I was a little bit older, actually not 4 or 5, but at Universal Studios. So I used to be able to go and visit my dad. That's what Universal used to be more like back in the day. Okay, that makes me, now you all know how old I am. Okay, so yeah, but it was literally like mostly Westerns and things like that. And there was Western towns in the back. And myself and some of the other kids that were involved with the Virginian, we would ride the horses all around the back lots and get in trouble. We'd hear them come on the radio. Tané McClure, Doug's daughter, Tané, is making too much noise in the, in the set across the way. And I'd be like, So yeah, no, it was fun. But, I have to say, because my father passed away in 1995, unfortunately, cancer, but he was a really, really down to earth, good guy. I mean, really, really down to earth. So for me, he was a regular guy, super fun, humble, not stuck up, not anything. So as I progressed and got older and got into the entertainment industry myself, it was interesting. I was kind of shocked by some people's bad behavior. because my dad was just regular. I mean, he was a real cowboy. So he was like, whatever, we'd go horseback riding and he got me a horse and just regular dude. And when I would see some of the Hollywood BS, I'd be like, what's wrong with you? Why are you acting like that? So that would, be the one interesting thing that I think my life was a little bit different than some maybe Hollywood people. I don't know. But anyways, but that's my answer for that question.
I mean, you know, that seems to be pretty typical of a lot of people in Hollywood. You know, there's a lot of competition. That was something I didn't really like about being there, was that, you know, I come from a hardcore and punk rock background, and like there's always collaboration, there's always people coming together. And when I was dealing with actors and actresses and whatnot, I at least with my experience, it just felt so cutthroat. And like people were just trying to kick you out of the way, or do whatever in order to get roles, or just put you down or demean you or whatever. And I, I didn't really like that aspect of it. Hence why I started, doing stuff like, the podcast and, directing music videos and what have you. But, you had mentioned something about, horseback riding. And I know that that's something that you do now. And I actually didn't know that you did stunts on some of the movies.
I have.
Using the horses. Yeah.
Thank you for actually, I guess, reading about me or looking into it. I appreciate that. I don't take that lightly. That's very kind of you. Yeah, no. I've ridden horses since I was very young because of my father being a rider. And so I'm actually technically a professional rider and a professional competitor. And I was training a lot of horses and people for a while, but right now my directing and producing career is more prevalent. That is one of the most grounding things that is in my life, my horses, and other than my family, or as well as my family. But the horses are just always been wonderful. When I was younger, you would maybe get in a fight with your boyfriend when you're like, 16, 15 or whatever. And I'd go to the barn. I'd be like, it's I'm going to be brushing my horse. The next thing I know, I'm like, I forgot. So no, it's good. I really do love, that part of my life. And it was very helpful too with the movie Caitlin's Chance, which is, like I said, coming out. I was working with the actors, Samantha Baldwin and Shane Graham. We had a good time because I was basically, as a producer and as a writer, but I was extremely particular about their authenticity when it came to the horses. So, but I enjoyed it. It was fun. Yeah,
that's beautiful.
It's a sport. It's my sport.
Yeah, and it seems like it's, you mentioned being able to just go out there. It seems like it's something that's very therapeutic for a lot of people.
100%, 100%. I ride dressage, and I, can ride competitive dressage. But I do really like to honestly connect with my horse. And it's important to me. I mean, it is very, very grounding. It used to be, and less so, that I was nervous to tell my film production life that, oh, by the way, I'm going to go ride my horse. And then I was nervous to tell the people that I was training and working with professionally as a horsewoman, oh, by the way, I'm going to go direct something this weekend or whatever. But I've learned now that both are really important. So, you just stick with.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
Now, back to, your music career, you had recorded one album, like you had mentioned, with RCA, and then you got dropped. What was the reason that you got dropped? If that's not too personal of a
question. No, it's not that it's personal. Sometimes I debate whether I should say. Well, okay. So the album didn't do as well as one might think. Okay, Jack Crago was the head of promotion at the time, and he was on like a promotional tour with me, and my album was shooting up the charts on the radio and stuff like that. And he was drunk, and I'm just going to say it, I don't care. And he pounded on my door at like 2 a.m. and I guess I was like 20 or 21. And sadly, I think today, if he pounded on my door, because I probably would have gone, haha, very funny. No, out you go. It's sad that we would have to do that as women, but the honest answer was, I literally said, what the hell are you doing? Who the hell do you think you are? And I told him off. And he said, you have no idea, tomorrow your record's going to tank. And basically it did. So what happens, especially at that time, they would have certain amount of money that was allocated to promote your record, and that money was pulled and put to something else. You know, I'm not going to say that was 100% it. You know, maybe that record just didn't sell as well one might should. I, at the time, didn't say anything to anybody, not even my husband, because it was like, I don't know. I was just young and embarrassed. Mm-hmm. But my record did start to tank. And Joe Mansfield, who was a vice president of RCA Records, he's passed away, but many years later, admitted to me that he knew that had happened. He's a good guy. He was a really good guy on my side. And he said, I know for a fact that Jack Crago purposely tanked your record. And I went, yeah, well, that's it. Now, that's the truth about what the backstory is. And I don't care if, you know, if anybody complains, because I know it's true. So, but it's not a sob story, because it's life, right? You move on.
Right.
And I had thought everything was going to be okay and that I was going to get a new record deal. But because a lot of people didn't know why I was dropped, because I wasn't a problem. I wasn't like, I didn't do drugs. I didn't really even drink much. You know, I would show up wherever I was supposed to do. I would do everything I was supposed to do. But when a record company drops you, then they figure there's something must be wrong. So I couldn't get picked up by even the labels that had wanted to sign me before. So it was really sad. That was really heart-wrenching. And funny enough, you know, here, Terminator, the songs, I couldn't even get signed on the Terminator music stuff. It was the most bizarre thing. Bud Carr,
those songs are bangers. Those songs are amazing.
Thank you. I thought so. And I don't know if a little bit of the damage too was also that people compared me to Pat Benatar, and there already was a Pat Benatar, but I didn't really think I sounded that much like her, because she actually, I'm more of a contralto. She's really a soprano, or she can, you know, and I was like, I wasn't trying to sound like her. It's just the era of the music at the time. And specifically, You Got Me Burning, I definitely didn't think Burning the Third Degree sounded like her, but you know, it is what it is, and you move on. But then what was starting to happen is that the music trends were starting to get more pop oriented. There was all those track act bands that were, you know, being signed. So I actually was in a group called Double Take, and we did get signed to WTG CBS Records. So I had a recording contract a few years later, finally, with so Victoria Seeger there was two of us, two blondes. And and it was John Bastianelli also was another one of our producers for the band. A wonderful guy. He's a friend of mine. So if he happens to be looking this, I'm thinking of you. He's a great producer, writer. So I was going in that direction for a little while. And it was you know, like got a little bit of attention, but not to the point that it was like really making me go up the charts. Then I would record this for one person or that for another person. There was things that were still going on musically for me. But so that's where that was. I wrote songs that ended up in different movies, but yeah.
How did you get picked up to be in the Terminator soundtrack? Who you said
Bud Carr. No, Bud Carr was my manager, and he was starting to become a music supervisor for certain movies. And at the time, I have a funny story. Okay. So at the time, you know, he knew this semi-unknown director called James Cameron. And and he was doing this completely unknown movie called The Terminator. And my manager was on my side, and he's like bummed that he couldn't get my music signed to a new label. And he says, "God, it's really good tracks. I'm going to take it over to James Cameron and that whole team and see if they want to put it in the movie," which I kind of briefly talked about earlier. So he does. And, you know, Bud Carr says to me, you know, they would love your songs. They're going to put it in, you know, make a little money, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So we end up going to a very early screening of The Terminator. And we got Michael Biehn and Linda Hamilton, James Cameron. We're all there in this, I can't remember what studio it was, James Cameron. And I got my manager, Bud Carr, and I walk in, cool rock star that I still think I am. What are you thinking? I see you thinking.
Oh, I was going to say Hemdale.
Probably. I can't remember what studio it was. Yeah. So we go in there, still thinking I'm a rock star, you know. I'm still wanting to be a rock star. There's a point to this. Okay. So I'm nice, but I'm like, yeah, cool. I sit and I watch this movie. Now I want you to understand this. You would think that I would know better, but it didn't have any sound effects. Music wasn't in yet, not my songs, not any music. And there was a few occasions where, you know, the Terminator with this, you know, and he's coming like this towards that camera. Remember that with the, some of this, there was going to be CGI of that era on top of the practical effects. You know, they were going to add some, whatever they were going to do. So it would say up there, insert VFX here. I mean, that's how they would like say, you know, to the producers, something else is going to happen here. So, and I was used to just Westerns with my dad and the Virginian. They didn't have all that stuff. I'm looking at this movie and honestly, I'm going, this is the worst piece of mix I've ever seen in my whole life. You know where this goes, right? And we're walking out and Bud Carr says to me, he goes, what do you think? It's going to be great, right? And I go, oh my God, that is the worst movie I've ever seen in my whole life. And he's literally going, shh, quiet, shh. And I'm like, oh, I'm not going to say anything. So we walk out and he's scolding me. I'm like still, I think I'm 22, 23. I don't know. And he's scolding me and he's like, don't say anything. I go, okay, I know. No, it's fine. It just, I don't know. It seemed kind of dumb. So fast forward. Now the movie's really done and we're getting to go to the red carpet premiere. And, you know, I go with my manager and I'm dressed semi-nice. I should have dressed nicer. And I show up and I'm like, wow, this is really quite the turnout for this James Cameron Terminator movie. And I'm watching this movie in the theater. True story. My jaw is to the floor. And I thought it was probably one of the most amazing movies I'd ever seen in my whole life. Literally, if you go back in time, the Terminator, when it came out, it was scary. It was badass. And it was just, and even the beats were there. You know, Arnold Schwarzenegger was, I'll be back. I mean, you know, and so it was a learning experience. And I don't know if subconsciously somewhere in the back of my mind, all these years, I went, wow, post-production. Wow. I mean, I don't mean like that was the only thing that saved it. I do not mean that at all. It was great performances. Linda Hamilton was fabulous. Michael Biehn, they were great. James Cameron did a great job. But it taught me a lot, you know, to see things in a different light and realize that they're all pieces of one giant puzzle. And it takes all those different movements or playing a game of not just chess, but like, well, yeah, chess. And by the time you put it all together, you've got something really wonderful. And to make a very long story short, that's what I hope to do with the productions that I'm doing. I'm not James Cameron yet.
Exactly.
But, you know, I have to plug these movies because I am so excited about the slate of films that I have in development that are either funded, partially funded, or definitely going, that I have to at least say their names. And again, Ethan Almighty, the movie, you can Google it. It's actually on my website, McClureFilms.com. It's going to be an amazing feature film, again, based on a true story. We're currently in discussions with name actors. I can't tell you these people right now. Oh, there you go. Ethan Almighty. Yes.
There's a poster. Yeah.
Yes. And again, this is the promotional poster, right? So this is the actual real dog, Ethan Almighty. And he is a dog that literally, I don't know how much time do we have on this show? Because I could just talk.
As much as you'd like.
Okay, good. Okay. So Ethan,
I'm a motor mouth too, so I could go on.
Oh yeah. There's so much. And you know, I have to say, I'm lucky enough that honestly, so much is going on that I want to share, but this particular story is super important and I want people to know about it. This is a true story. Okay. This is about a real dog that I'm going to read some of this stuff that I'm going to read you what it says here right now. Ethan Almighty, the movie. It's a dramatic faith-based true story of this particular courageous dog that survived unspeakable odds. And what happened, he was found tortured and starved and in Kentucky. I know this sounds like I'm telling you a really sad story. It is, but it's actually bizarrely, incredibly uplifting. He was found and discovered in the parking lot of a vet hospital or a shelter. Long story short, he was saved by their team, but in doing so, the entire state of Kentucky became so aware of this dog's what happened to him, the terrible pain he went through, and we're literally praying for him to survive. He made the news, and including the governor of Kentucky became involved. Next thing you know, they find out that, you know, there's a law that needs to change. And what the law is that in Kentucky, it used to be that you could literally torture a dog and nothing would happen. It was just like $100 fine. You could do anything you want. And now that law has changed because of this dog. Now, why is this an exceptional story? Because of how he changed the people around him that learned about the story, followed him. There was literally miracles. And I'm not just saying this. And I don't know if it's because when you follow someone and you pray for them to succeed, or they're like a living creature like this, and you're like, oh my God, what happened to them? I want them to survive. Please, dear Lord, help this creature survive, this, you know, God's, you know, gift to survive. And you watch this dog struggle and you become so engaged, you realize that there's things that are so much more important sometimes than the little things in life, and it can uplift you and give you inspiration. There's one particular character in our movie that's based on a real person that it literally gave her hope to fight cancer. And now Jeff and like this movie will give you joy, and it ends with such rejoice and like happiness. And we actually shot some scenes in December in Kentucky. At the parade, there's a parade, and the actual real dog and the real Jeff Calloway were in the parade, so we shot that too.
Oh,
but
wow.
Anyway, we are in casting in this, so that I just want people to realize that they should watch for this movie. It'll really touch your heart. But yeah. So, do you have any other pictures that I sent you? Because I could talk about the other.
Absolutely. I want to go ahead and take a question real quick.
Sure.
Ramella Malone says, "What's your favorite thing about horses?"
Their spirit and the connection and bond that you can receive with them. That always just knocks me out. Sure, I love to ride them, but I don't want to ride them if they don't bond with me. That's like the worst. I think their amazing spirit and the fact that they're these 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 pound huge animals. I've ridden some big horses that literally can go, oh, human, I like you. You want to go with me? Like if anybody's watching here that follows me on Facebook or Instagram, sometimes I post bits of me and my horse cruising around. And I just did post something the last couple of days about I was taking my horse out on a little trail, and he's a performance horse. He's not just a trail horse, right? And we're cruising around far away from other horses and everything, just me, a human, and I'm weigh about 129 pounds, and my 1,200 pound, horse that's pretty powerful. Just the two of us are cruising all by ourselves all around. Now, if you don't know horses, that seems like nothing, but it's a huge thing. Think about how horses in the real world, like when you see them in Westerns, they're out in the wild, right? They're a herd animal, like a school of fish. Take one of those horses and make him go all by himself somewhere. Doesn't happen. In the real world, they would die. They would be eaten by something, mountain lions back in the day, right? They don't do that. But it's not, if you ride the way I ride, my horse is not going with me because I'm commanding him to. I have become sort of his partner. There's a bond. And because he trusts me and he actually goes, you know what? She's alpha mare. I'm going to go with her anywhere. That is like the most amazing feeling in the world. They're like, okay, I'm not going to go out there, but you and me, we can go out there. And I think that's a gift, and we should appreciate that. So I hope that answers that question.
Absolutely. One more, and then we'll show some more of what you're promoting. It says, have you ever watched the Terminator?
Oh yeah,
she mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, I definitely. Because I had the music in there and the Terminator too. I like them all very much.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so some other things that we have to promote as well. No, I didn't do that right.
I have a Western too that I have in early development called Freedom. So there's like a whole bunch of movies that I'm excited to work on. Oh, one more I'm going to show you. Black Point Road.
Well,
I don't know what I sent you. What?
Since we were talking about the horses,
that is Caitlin's Chance.
Yeah.
Caitlin's Chance is a story that I wrote. Director on this one was Ben Demery, and I'm a producer on this. And this is that's Samantha Baldwin, and she did a great job. I'm gonna look at me. I'm pulling up all these different movies on my my website. That's why I keep looking up. And this film stars Sean Patrick Flanery, Jamie King, Chris Mulkey.
Oh, I love Sean Patrick Flanery.
I know he's really good. Wonderful guy, by the way. Terrific actor. I really want to work with him again. Very, very professional. Samantha Rose Baldwin right there. She was great. And Shane Graham, great. Okay. This is a story that I wrote, and it's based on about a young woman who gets injured, and she basically has to like what we were just talking about, rebond and connect with her horse, overcome her own fears and her horse's fears, and they go back and compete. It's a bit of a mystery too, because you start to figure out actually what happened to them, and it has nothing to do with the show ring. It had to do with something else, and it's a beautiful, beautiful story. And oh gosh, definitely cannot forget Jennifer Taylor. She also stars in this movie. She's wonderful actress. She plays Samantha Baldwin's mom. She's wonderful in that. So yeah,
and
that's that movie. That's in post. That will come out in 2025. What? What'd you say?
I was just saying what was the release date? And you just said
we don't have an exact release date yet, but this film is slated to come out in 2025. I'm going to guess by Christmas. I hope. I'm not doing the post on this. Yeah.
I loved Sean Patrick Flanery. He did a show back in the day called The Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. It was on ABC in the early 90s. Yeah.
I have to go look at that.
It's fantastic. Frank Darabont, who did Green Mile and Shawshank Redemption, he directed some of the episodes. It was really great. It was an excellent show.
He's a really, really down-to-earth, really nice guy. And again, you and I were talking about, I believe, I don't think it was cameras were rolling yet, but about when I was, maybe it was, I can't remember, we talk so much about the industry, about how I prefer down-to-earth actors, because growing up with my father, nobody acted all snobby and all that kind of stuff. So when I meet an actor, that is very down-to-earth, I take note, so Sean Patrick Flanery was fabulous. The whole cast was, but I specifically noticed him. He did a great job.
I believe it. Yeah, he seems like he's just a real dude. And then you've got Dead Rome that's coming out.
Yeah. Okay, this one is in development. We're supposed to shoot this in June. I think I gave you a promotional poster. The one with a promotional. I say promotional because this creature might change. Do you have a copy of it? Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay, so right now we're in talks. We're in talks with Michael Pare and Rampage Jackson, but this film will be shot in June. So I'm excited about that. Scotty Gelt is the executive producer. I'm the director, and I'm looking forward to it. We have a lot of visual effects. That's something that I know how to do. So I'm excited about that one. Can't tell you too much about it other than the fact that it's, I suppose I could. Let me just tell you one thing. Well, I did tell you Crispin Glover is probably, we're hoping we're going to close the deal with him to play Caesar. Oh my God, that's just telling too much, but I can't help it. I'm sorry. All right. That's funny. Yeah. Okay. So this is a story about how Spartacus, on the verge of death in the Colosseum, prays to his gods to curse Julius Caesar and the Roman Empire, and then unleashes the world's first zombies that come out of the dead gladiators and dead slaves, and they come out. Okay, so like I said, the movie takes itself rather, kind of seriously, in the sense it's a real gladiator movie. Mark Stephen Grove, who's a long-time friend of mine, is a top stunt coordinator. He is going to help produce and stunt coordinate this movie. And we're going to have some serious fighting in this movie, and sword fighting with his team. I'm really excited. Hopefully James Liu as well. And if you're familiar with stunt people, you're going to know who I'm talking about. So this is going to be, excuse my French, badass as far as the stunt fighting. So we're looking forward to that. And it'll be fun because,
Excellent. That's excellent. Now, as a filmmaker, I'm huge on films. As you can see, I've got my Les Samurai and
I
my
saw that.
Fistful of
Yeah,
Dollars
yeah.
poster back there. Yeah. Who are some filmmakers that have influenced you throughout the years, and kind of what are some of your favorite films?
James Cameron, Terminator. No, I really do admire him a lot. And I think probably because of my experience with him in Terminator and learning a lot. And the fact that I do believe he's pretty darn fearless and limitless. He just goes for it. And I think that's very admirable. And so my tiny little way with my film production company, I try to be fearless and just go for it. I don't know. I have a lot of people that I admire, and not always because everything that they do is great, but because they're willing to take risks. I like that,
Yeah.
I think that's probably about it, because I can think of a lot of different things movies that I really, really like. I'm, pretty eclectic that way. So yeah,
Sure.
I'm just going to leave it at
James
James Cameron.
Cameron, he's definitely fearless when he flew that helicopter under the bridge in Terminator 2.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I mean, yes. I mean, my goodness. I mean, yeah. But there's a lot of he's great. I mean,
Yeah.
I think we as like yourself, myself as creators, I think we need to keep our eyes open and look and learn from people all over the place. Not necessarily the big directors, but be pleasantly surprised and impressed. I'm actually a member of a group on Facebook called the Low Budget Filmmakers Group or whatever. Reading this are probably going to go, wait, what? And I really enjoy it because sometimes there's some of the people that are involved with this particular Facebook group are very skilled and they've been around a long time. And then other times you get surprised by these absolute newbies. And I'm a newbie too, right? Even though so my background real quick is that I've directed and produced and production coordinated hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of productions, from, corporate commercials to documentaries for Betty White. So I have an extensive career in that field. So a lot of experience, but maybe not in big motion pictures, too many yet. But back to what I was trying to say. So the low budget filmmakers, they'll surprise me because they'll share something like a short film. And sometimes, to be honest, it's pretty low quality. I'm like, okay, and I give some notes or I try to help from what my level. And then other times I'm blown away by something really fresh. And I think that's what makes this an enjoyable art form, is to, open your eyes, look at these movies, like, for example, that just won or were nominated for the Oscars. Those are independent films. Granted, I have not seen Anora yet. I have not.
Anora, yeah.
I have not, but I do find it intriguing and exciting that, it was an independent film and it was unexpected. I think that's great. I think that's hopefully opens the door, for other people. I did watch The Substance with Demi Moore. I saw that the other night.
How was it?
For me, I was enthralled with it because it was daring. There was things that I did not necessarily like about it, but that's another thing to consider and talk about. If we're really honest filmmakers, we're going to be critical of this or that or this or that, but it's the journey and the fact that what it takes to pull this off. I mean, I know, right? What it takes to do any project. It's very complex. And,
oh, yes.
Even my criticism, I humbly would say, there was certain things that I was like, but I like the overall accomplishment. Of course, Demi Moore was fabulous. So that's
I keep hearing she gave a great performance and kind of got robbed of that Oscar,
Well, I mean, I haven't seen Anora yet, but I was very impressed with her bravery, because she is literally naked to the world, right? Literally. And performing fearlessly by the way, she looked absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
She does.
But yet at the same token, she also wasn't afraid during certain parts to not look perfect, which I admired. And I thought that was fantastic. And of course, when she gets, they did win for best makeup, didn't they? Didn't that, I think Substance won for best special effects.
Truthfully, I didn't watch it. I just caught the recap. So,
well, yeah, I believe, and that was well deserved, because that was very heavy duty special effects makeup that she had to endure, which is a tough thing all in itself. So, yeah, no, I was impressed. I really was. So, yeah,
that's excellent. And let's talk a little bit about Seance games, Metaxu.
Yes, well, that is a good one. Let me go back to my own website. Look it up.
We've got a trailer here too. We can.
Oh, can you play it? I would really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
For people watching this whole thing for 50 minutes. Now comes the trailer.
Yeah. Let's see here. Okay. And it's full screen, right? Yeah, I think so. Okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and play it.
Play it.
Don't flag me, YouTube.
Buffering.
TikTok star cosplayers introducing Real Live. Go, yes!
It's a game where teams live stream the scariest, most haunted places in the world. 2 seances over 2 nights.
Dangerous.
The team with the most online follows, likes, and views wins $300,000 each.
Are you guys on drugs?
Let the seance games begin!
I check them in, but they don't check out.
What if there was actually some truth to this whole seance business?
Kat, this is just a game.
I need to know if there really is a spirit world.
Yeah, so.
Let's play Metaxu.
Going live in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Metaxu! Metaxu! Metaxu!
You will never leave this place.
I couldn't breathe.
Guys, this place wants us to play the seance game.
It won't matter if we all die.
Don't you see what's happening? All those millions of followers. We've opened up the game to hell.
Be quiet.
The killer is here.
That was
all right.
Fun. That was fun.
Absolutely. My man Eric Roberts in there holding it down.
Yeah, Eric's in there. Yeah, no, it's a fun popcorn horror with some scary bits when that's good. And no, we got good distribution, and that makes us all very, very happy. Again, the executive producer, Sylvester Bowen and Nisha Katran, they also had roles in it. You might not recognize me, but I played the red-haired woman. No,
I saw you. I did see you. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I did get a chance to see it, and I'm a big fan of horror movies, and I really enjoyed it. So,
well,
yeah,
I'm hoping. Go ahead. Tell me you said you enjoy it. Don't stop.
Yeah. No. I'm hoping to see good things from you. I know you got like the upcoming film too, and I'm a big horror guy. Like I love horror films. I love Eric Roberts. I love like supernatural found footage stuff, and yeah, it was fantastic.
Well, you're gonna love then Dead Rome, because Dead Rome is definitely going to be scary. That is the plan. It's going to be zombie scary with some lots and lots of action. Very, very commercial. That one's going to be good. So
love me some zombies. George Romero, Lucio Fulci. That's my jam right there. I'm stoked. I'm into it. Yeah.
And do you have Last Flare by the chance? That trailer I gave you?
I do as well. Let's pull that up. Anybody that's listening on Spotify or Apple Music, tough shit. You're gonna have to watch on YouTube to see this. So let's pull it up real quick. Last Flare. Boom. Let's share Last Flare.
Yeah.
And let's maximize this fool. And let's play. Boom. Buffering.
How dare it buffer? Don't buffer.
I need to increase my bandwidth. There we go.
We lost a man at sea that day. It's a long story, and it's one I wish I could forget. We got a ton of work to finish on the boat before we leave. I'm getting reports that yellowtail and white sea bass are biting off Catalina. Nice of you to show up.
But you still have time to make it to the strip club, though, right?
Mitch, have you seen the weather report for tonight?
Yes, we will be out of there way before this thing hits. The sea was calm, distant clouds on the horizon. We scored one hell of a load. One of the best I ever had. Congratulations. That was the mother load. Yes.
So the weather was still good?
It was, but it didn't last. The Ace was taking in water. She was listing to the port side. Road leads! Get inside! Help! I got you.
We're gonna die out here, aren't we, Mitch?
This is our last one. It was my fault. All of it.
Woo!
Right on, right on.
I love that
underwater
trailer.
work. Was that
Oh, yeah,
was that challenging to do?
Yes, but it was fun all at the same time. Mark Duncan actually, he's a wonderful underwater camera operator. He did that work, and Keith Jeffries is our director of photography, and that was Scott Winters in the lead, and Andrew Ferguson and Monique Candelaria. There's a lot of people. Anyways, it was challenging, but here's the really interesting part. We shot that in New Mexico. New Mexico. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So, okay. We also shot at Ventura Harbor. We're going to be shooting more. That's actually an early teaser trailer because we're still shooting a bit more for the film. But also this film, I'm hoping will also be released in 2025 if we can get everything finished. But when you're shooting like an action film where people are, drowning in the water and stuff like that, and, boats capsizing, you obviously can't shoot that out in the middle of the ocean. So just like they shot some of the bigger movies, Perfect Storm and things like that, we shot it in a tank, a water tank, and everything. And there's a lot of visual effects to make this happen. So yeah, I'm really excited. I'm familiar and comfortable with visual effects. I've done that as well. So, but when I need help, I go pull in an animator. So it's fun. I enjoy it a lot. But that's an exciting one. I'm really excited about that. So we have Last Flare, we have Dead Rome, we have Ethan Almighty. Then we have Caitlyn's Chance. That's already in post-production. And I have to share some really interesting films that are in development. There's also a film called Black Point Road that is based, let me pull up my stuff, based on a true story, a Hawaiian true story about a young girl that was discovered. It's something sounded like Sound of Freedom, like child, kidnapping. And it's very heavy duty dramatic film. And that one's in early development as well. And some friends of mine were involved with that story in Hawaii that actually knew the true story, and they're the writers on that. So, I have to give kudos to them, and it's Kathy Foy and Judy Anderson. So we're looking forward to getting that film done as well. So I have like a huge slate of these films that are kind of ticking up the ladder, so to speak. As one gets done, then the next one kind of moves in. Like I said earlier, I have another Western called Freedom. There's a lot, and only reason why I want to say all these movies because I'm not a one-person show, even though it is a huge team of people. I write a lot, so most of these things I'm involved with writing, if not all of them, but there's also additional writers. There's storytellers. It's like for example, Last Flare is written by Scott Marshotz, who is he's the original writer, and then I came aboard and did some co-writing with him. He's also the executive producer on Last Flare. Ben Demery is the producer on as well, is director on Caitlyn's Chance. So Linda Berger, who's head of our casting and producing casting. She's working diligently with me to try to put together a stellar cast for these movies. And she communicates with creative artist agencies and different agencies to try to lock in some of this talent. Specifically, we're kind of reaching as high as we can for Ethan Almighty to get our lead actor. We are in discussions with, I can't say who, but we are in discussions with some people. And, you know, and it's all these people that are supportive of what you're trying to do. And then it takes a dose of luck, as you know, being in the right place at the right time, where somebody says, you know what, I'm going to help you fund, for example, Ethan Almighty. It takes that little notch. And the same executive producers, one of the key executive producers for Ethan Almighty is actually my executive producers for Seance Games Metaxu, and that's Sylvester Bowen and Nisha Katran. They're actually musicians as well. Nisha Katran. I just did that because I was realizing you should check her out. I've actually produced and directed some of her music videos. We're friends from back in the 90s. We were in a band together.
Okay.
And we stayed friends this whole time. And now we're producing movies together. So going back to what I'm saying, I'm standing here, but literally to do anything that I do, there's an army of people that I work with behind me. And without that collaboration of putting all these pieces together, I'm looking at my developments, like none of those things would happen. You know, one of my co-writers, Ty Caravelli, you know, she and I are working on a bunch of movies, Legend of Mina Harker, which is incredible. You would like it. Horror film. Mina Harker. Do you know who Mina Harker is? It's a vampire.
Not familiar, no.
It's she never grows old. She's one of Dracula's, and she never.
So she would have been related to Jonathan Harker from the Dracula story.
Exactly. I think is it Jonathan? I see. She's the key writer on that one. I can't remember, but yeah, it's a cool screenplay. It's great. So we have some bites on that. So for people, if anybody's watching or somebody ends up watching this and they're up and coming filmmakers, I do find this interesting, and you'll know what I'm talking about. I personally feel that you should not put all your cookies in one cookie jar. What I mean is, if you're a writer, then write a lot. You know, put a lot of projects out there with a lot of people. And it doesn't mean I'm throwing cards out there willy-nilly. Every single card means something and has a purpose, because this business of the entertainment industry is a business. It is. Sure, it's a creative art, but I don't care what anybody says. At the end of the day, it's a business. You cannot get a film that you love with all your heart out the door without that team, and then the finances, and then the distribution company, and then the buyers to get anything done. So sometimes you're at the right place at the right time with the right genre and the right story at the right time. So and as each new film, somebody finds a home, then you're like, oh my God, okay, this one's moving up. This one's moving up. So, hey, anybody wants to invest in movies, go check out McClureFilms.com.
Absolutely. You should do that. You should do that. And I'm going to be sure to post all the links to everything in the comments too.
I really do.
Yeah. And you know, one of the things we were talking about, the Legally Blonde premiere video earlier, and I'd be remiss not to mention that because it's one of my dad's favorite films. He loves Reese Witherspoon.
You say dad? How old am I?
Well, no, he's a weirdo. He likes stuff like like rom-coms and stuff sometimes. So
no, I'm only teasing because I hadn't seen people that don't know that you had posted, or somebody in your team had posted a little interview that I had done, excuse me, on the red carpet or whatever for the Legally Blonde premiere, and I 100% had forgotten about it. And I'm like talking like I am. So this is my who I really am. I'm just like, not necessarily when I'm directing, then I'm pretty focused. But so they're asking me all these questions. I'm talking a million miles an hour. And one of the things I remember saying was like, well, how was it like when, they told you that they wanted you to play the mom? I'm literally at the time, and still, I was like, I'm playing Reese Witherspoon's mom?
Yes.
I remember going, wait, what? But then I went, wait a minute. Yes, I can do it. And actually, I mean, I could be, I mean, it was the age difference. It doesn't matter. The point is that it was such a fun movie. I loved it. But anyways, I'm talking all about that. And then, so you reminded me 100% of that. I ended up sending that clip to my daughter earlier today. I'm like, look at me. And I was even talking about you because now she's 26. And in that video of that interview, I'm like going, oh, and my 2.5-year-old daughter, she didn't recognize me in Legally Blonde because I don't look like that. No. It's just the good thing about film and doing things like that. It's almost like, you know, memories, you know, it's up there, good or bad. And, you know, you have memories of it. So I appreciate you mentioning it.
Absolutely. And the characters seem to be like a sharp juxtaposition just based on how we've been conversing. It seems to be like a sharp juxtaposition of how you are in real life.
What are you talking about, honey?
No.
Honey, you were first runner-up at the Miss Hawaiian Tropics contest. Why are you going to throw that all away? That was my line.
Love it. I love it. It's fantastic. No, it's great.
I played killers too, you know. I played killers too.
And
so you got to watch out for
talking
me.
about that. You had done some films that you had kind of described as like skin flicks in the
Erotic.
80s and whatnot. Yeah, erotic thrillers like a la Fatal Attraction, Emmanuel, stuff like that.
Yes.
And so, you know, you had mentioned earlier that you felt that, you know, a lot of people kind of got waylaid for that in the industry, but at the time that they were kind of looking for like a new Sharon Stone-ish type or like, you know,
they were
somebody like that. And so, you know, kind of talk about that a little bit and, you know, your feelings on that.
So in that time or that era, we had Basic Instinct, Fatal Attraction, you know, remember, you know, Basic Instinct was pretty woohoo, you know, with Sharon Stone and the legs and so you know, the industry, you have your big budget films and you have your lower budget films, and the lower budget films kind of tend to follow what's trending and try to do the same thing or try to go in the same direction. So similarly, and I don't mean this in a bad way, we've got Gladiator and now we have Dead Rome that I'm directing. And that's not a bad thing. That's great. But, you know, Scotty Gelt, the writer and executive producer, and I think he topped it off by making it a zombie Gladiator. And that's a good thing. So now it's marketable. So going back to erotic films, because there were so many erotic films that were being extraordinarily successful, we had Red Shoe Diaries and things like that. They were looking for the next in the B movie genre or market. Andrew Stevens and his company were looking for the next Sharon Stone, Shannon Tweed, whoever. And all the agents were like, oh my God, they're looking for this new, you know, bombshell actress. And I remember telling my agent at the time, no, I can do that. You know, I can do that. And so I did. And I was liking they cast me, which was great. I mean, it was like, yay. And I was doing some movies that I really, really liked. I actually really liked A Woman Scorned 2, which is I played. And there was a whole bunch of them. Like if you follow my career, like a ton of them. But then they started to get, they didn't have any plot. And then I was like, wait, okay, so I'm just naked to be naked. And now I'm not enjoying it. I'm like, okay. So, then I became less and less wanting to do those type of things. And I moved from one agency to another. And then I got other roles. I got Legally Blonde. And then I got Cruel Intentions 2. And then I also was on a series called Sherman Oaks on Showtime. You know, and so I try to shift my career out. But, you know, many people kind of hung on to that. And yet at first I was kind of like disappointed that people were like, oh yeah, I remember you when they were naming all the movies that were erotic thrillers. But then I realized, wait a minute, the genuine kind-hearted fans that were like, I really liked you in this movie or this, and they're being genuine. They're not being rude. They're not being anything. And I'm like, you know, wow, when I'm 80, I'm going to look back and go, hey, I look pretty good. So it's all not a bad thing. But there is one thing that I always like to make clear. Occasionally people were like, oh, well then, you know, was it porno? I'm like, no, I've never, ever, ever done anything like that ever. I've never killed anybody in real life, in a movie. And I've never had sex. So it's all nude. It's all movie magic. But all of those things that are in my career, everything from being a recording artist, originally a model, a singer, an actress, and then a songwriter, and then a screenwriter, and then definitely an editor. You know, they're all facets to who I am and who I am trying to be. So when I work on a movie or I'm directing, I am sensitive to an actress and what she goes through. I, because of many, many years of acting, and also I studied acting for decades. I mean, I remember
Where did you study?
So many different method classes. I would always go to different groups and different scene study, as well as having mind blank, you know, different names of different instructors, but all over. And I even went to Pinewood Studios. My father was an actor, and I studied over there in England for a while.
Wow.
I would study
that's a big one.
Well, I would study when I wasn't even working on acting. Didn't even have an agent, or I didn't even want one. I was being a recording artist. And I don't know why, but I started thinking of my acting classes almost like therapy. And if you really studied acting and you understand, especially I studied method, and I don't mean weird method if you're familiar, but like just really.
I did Adler and Meisner.
Yes, Adler. Yeah. But like, you know, trying to find something to relate to, it becomes oddly therapeutic, you know, to bring out something in your character that you may not have wanted to open up about. So when I started working more as an actress, it was kind of pretty easy for me to pull things, whatever type of character I was playing. And for me now, I feel as a director, I can definitely relate to an actor to help them bring something out in their performance. And I'm also very respectful for whatever the scene calls for. So for example, specifically, let's talk about Last Flare. When I was directing that, William Winters is our leading man, and he did a wonderful job. He has a tough scene where he's breaking down. He's a bit emotional about it. We talked about it, and I made sure when we were rolling that the 2 cameras were ready, and we made sure that when we came in for his close-up, it was his time for his close-up. If I can do that, I want to do it every single time, because I understand what it feels like as an actor, as a performer. You are sinking yourself into this character. And then when it's time to deliver honesty, it's difficult to allow that honest window to just keep opening 50, 100 million times. Not to say you can't, but it's difficult. It's like capturing water. It says it's spilling out of a cup, right? And so I try hard to enable an actor to have their moment. It sounds very actorish, but it's true. And so I have really been enjoying directing a lot. And I'm also very, very, and I'm going to say this, I don't care. It sounds like I'm bragging, but it's true. I'm good at it, but I'm also, because I've been a professional editor now for so long, I see the shots in my head when I'm directing. So once I know we have it, we can move on. I don't need to take 500 million takes. And my director of photography, Keith Jeffries, and I we celebrate the fact that we feel that we can do a 10-hour. And if you're, for all the filmmakers, if any filmmakers happen to be watching or will, I really try to not do 12, 13, 14-hour days while filming a movie. Honestly, the last several projects that we did, absolutely 10-hour days, and that was it. And they'll validate that when we're shooting New Mexico and also Seance Games. And part of the reason why I feel I can do that is good planning. You work out really, really hard. I'm not going to say there's times that things don't go wrong and you have to go over. So I'm not being disrespectful to any other director or whatever. I get it. Really good planning, for one. Know your shots, for 2. And the other thing is, because I've directed so much stuff for corporate and also for, like, let's say Fox News or like specials and things with Carlos Amezcua, you don't shoot 12-hour days. You just don't. And if you're shooting for a corporate company, there is an X amount that you have to spend, and you can't go over. You go over, you're in trouble, like really in trouble. So my brain is like that because I've been doing that for so many years. So if I'm on the set, I'm looking at my clock and I'm like, all right, well, we can get this shot, this shot, this shot, this shot, and then we can move on. It ends up saving money to the production company because they're not going to have overtime. And also, it is efficient for the actors and the crew because they're not completely exhausted and spent.
Right.
So I had to bring that up because I'm not trying to say anybody's bad because maybe a movie has to go that direction, but I think it's important to try to, and one might say, well, then are you adding days to your shoot? Maybe one, maybe one, maybe two sometimes. But believe it or not, you still end up with a better production because one, if it's a union film, right, or it's whatever, you're not going over. So you don't have overtime going all over the place. So, and two, you have better performance. One, you're not spending more money with overtime. But sometimes actually I don't even go over. I'm not saying I don't go over in a day. And if I don't go over in a day by accident, it's a planned additional day. It's not a like, oh God, we went over so we can shoot another day. No, it'd be planned that way. So sorry I went on that in that whole thing.
No, absolutely. Are your films typically union productions?
I have shot union before. Caitlin's Chance, I'm a producer on, was a SAG film. As far as crew, I have worked on projects where they were union, and you have to be really careful and going over. I don't like to say what movies that I'm doing are going to be union or non-union because of how things are, but I will work in both, and I'm respectful to the crew. Even if it's a non-union crew, and we prefer to shoot as union union rates as much as possible. But key and most importantly, I'm not going to shoot over 10-hour days. So there you go.
Yeah. Got to keep the actors and the crew and everything fresh. And I really respect that.
And a lot of great food, dang it.
Yes, for sure. Can't forget the craft services for sure.
Yeah. And breakfast, even if it's a, walking breakfast, that's fine. A burrito, the crews, I like my team to know that they're having breakfast in the morning. So all the people that are watching that are not into this stuff, they're probably so bored right now. But the filmmakers are like, they're like, I get it.
Absolutely. No, and it's funny. It's funny that you should bring up craft services. For the music video I directed, I actually made the food for the actress and for the production crew. So I felt pretty good about that.
Right. No, and I think that's important. And, just for your, kudos on you and the music videos. I do know that sometimes a shoot like a music video sometimes can go over, and that's understandable because maybe a talent can only be there for one day, and maybe the stage can be only used for one day. So that's different. That's an exception, and that can happen. But I'm just talking about consecutive days and when you're
Sure, absolutely. And you're also an author, and you have a book, The Saints of Blood. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, no, I'm just, no. That's actually, I just helped out. No. The author that I'm really Rescue Heart is the book that I wrote that was actually an Amazon bestseller. Saints of Blood is a friend of mine that I helped him out on some artwork and things, but I didn't write that one. I don't want to take credit.
Okay, it was posted under your profile, and it said cover art for my novel, and then I just read genius work. Okay, so
see, it was
your novel.
Yeah, no. It was my really good friend wrote that, but no, my novel is Rescue Heart, and it's also a screenplay, and that is really cool. It's still available on Amazon. You could buy it on Barnes and Noble. It's a story about a dog and a Native American woman that saves him from being in a dog fighting ring, and their journey. It's dramatic and uplifting and sad and all that kind of good stuff.
All the good stuff.
All that kind of good stuff. Would you believe I'm literally going, I can't think of something to say, so you have to ask me questions, or I don't know, but I want to talk your ear off.
No, not at all. You've definitely I really appreciate when the guests actually kind of really give a lot and talk a lot. No, I really do. I have a lot of guys that do New York hardcore bands that are on here, and they will just go and tell stories, and I love it. I think it's fantastic. So,
I know. I feel bad. I don't always have this many things to share, but I do right now. So I was like, oh my God, make sure I'm like, don't laugh at me. It was like, don't forget to talk about this.
I'm gonna laugh.
I'm gonna be in so much trouble if I don't talk about that. Somebody's gonna yell at me if I don't. Oh wait, then there's this movie, because literally I'm respectfully thinking about everybody that I'm working with and how hard. Dee Dee Cox, I love you. She's working with me on Ethan Almighty. See, you know, it's like you just can't. And it's like, you know, it's important to mention the teamwork that it takes, you know, to do anything, you know. I'm going to say this, for example, Carlos Salazar was my assistant director in Last Flare. And I don't know if I would have even been able to pull it off nearly as well because of all the underwater and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay. I am a good swimmer. I grew up in Hawaii. I actually used to surf a long time ago, and I have done some lots of snorkeling, but used to a long time ago.
You just do it all.
It's just
You do. I mean, like you're like multi-faceted. You're so, like very versatile. I think that's amazing.
I just don't. And maybe I'm missing that gene that says you can't do that. What are you thinking? That gene is just gone. Doesn't exist. It's like, what are we doing? So no, but in this particular movie, The Last Flare, it's about a fishing industry, and there's a lot of underwater, as you saw, but if people saw earlier in the trailer. You know, underwater footage. And the great thing is Carlos Salazar, not only is a great assistant director, but he's like a scuba diver. So he's like under the water the whole time. And we had like this speaker system that was under the water. And I'm looking and I can see, and I'm saying cut, he's saying cut. I mean, it was insane. It was so fabulous. But that's what I'm talking about, you know, a team, underwater camera operators, underwater safety divers, you know, stunt people, you know, and then I'm literally just, I'm a director, but I get to be creative and tell the story. And I'm also very respectful to my team. You know, I literally, I have my ideas and I will speak my ideas, but I will commonly say, and how are we going to get that done? You know, and if it's something I know, then I know. Like I do know a lot of visual effects and working with blue screen. I'm pretty familiar with that. I'm pretty comfortable with that. Excellent. But if it's something like, you know, what we were doing with a lot of underwater cinematography, you know, Keith Jeffries and that whole camera department, Lane Looper, our assistant camera operator, assistant first AC, sorry, worked very hard to put together the beautiful visuals for Last Flare. And again, that one's going to be a good one. We are still filming that one though. It's got some more footage to shoot. So, you know, fantastic. Never done.
Yeah.
Well, are we good? You asked me a question. I think I'm taking up too much of your time.
No. Like I said, I can always, you know, keep prattling on and keep going on. And you know, one thing.
You cut this in pieces at least.
No, it all goes up. It's all up.
Oh my God. You poor viewers.
No. That's why they're here. One thing I always have to ask people is, what are you watching at present, and what are you really into? And you know, you'd mentioned you watch The Substance. Are you a TV person? I'm not as much of a TV person. People always tell me about shows, and I always feel like they're too much of a commitment. You know, like you got to watch 6 seasons of some streaming show, and so I like one and done movies. I love that. And so, what are you watching as far as films and television series? What do you got?
I happen to like the new Dexter series. I think I watched all the episodes. What is it called? Dexter
New Blood, I think.
What is it?
Isn't it Dexter New Blood?
Something like that. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So I can't think of it. And then I also watch most of I don't watch the current Yellowstone, but I watch all the is it 1928, 1883, all those, whatever. Yeah. I'm really into it. I'm currently, I'm just obsessed with the current one, some numbers, 1983, isn't it?
1923.
23.
Yeah. The one with Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren. Yeah.
Oh God, Helen Mirren. Gosh, she's a woman from my own heart. If you guys don't know, somebody needs to check out Helen Mirren. I mean that. Check out her origin. She was a hot blonde.
Oh, yeah.
And did some nudity and gorgeous figure, the whole 9 yards. I'm not, and she's
they just did a recut version of Caligula, and it's 3 hours, and she looks amazing in it. Yeah.
Well, see, maybe that's why I like her so much. But no, but the fact that she's so she's unapologetically beautiful and talented, and she's just like, yeah. And this tremendous actress, tremendous. I mean, and the two of them together are just superb. So anyways, I get enthralled with those type of things. I'm just in awe of all that. I was watching Billy Bob Thornton. I did watch that whole series, Landman. I did enjoy that. And then I do watch a lot of movies. I don't know. I feel like I can't think of them all right now, but I do like to watch movies. It's kind of my thing, and not necessarily current ones. Sometimes I'm on Amazon or Netflix and I'm like, oh man, I never saw this. Or I just watched a Gene Hackman movie the other night. Jury something. It was on, I think, Netflix or Amazon, and it was, God, Gene Hackman was great. So like, sometimes I'll go back and I'll look at something because I'm interested in somebody's career and what they're doing. And then sometimes I watch it just because I like it. I like animated movies.
Do you?
Yes, I'm a little kid.
I gotta hear some of your favorites.
Well, they're older ones, but I like
like bed knobs and broomsticks.
No, like I like all the Shreks. I like oh my God, How to Tame Your Dragon.
Well, now I feel old.
Oh, How to Tame the Dragon. I like all the animated movies from when I was a kid, but I don't know, like I love them. It's just so cool. I have a list of new animated movies that I want to watch that I haven't had a chance to. That robot one, I can't think of the name of it. I really want to see. What is it called? And also the one with the cat. Sorry, didn't prepare for this question. The cat that just won at the Oscars. But anyways,
I'm not sure. Yeah.
But I like, so maybe that's an extension of my personality. So when it came to music, I was obviously a rock singer, but I did pop and I did dance music, and now I mostly listen to country music. Go figure. And and I just love it. But as a all around person, I like to look at animated movies, horror films, thrillers. I like action movies a lot. Dramas, some comedy. It's weird that I don't watch too many comedies. I do like romance movies. I admit it. But I am excited about doing more action films these days, and working with Mark Stephen Grove. I acted in one of his films, and was working with him on that. So he's doing that, and it's I don't know. I just like to maybe do some things that are unexpected, So a woman doing action films. Well, women direct action films. So
you got, and acted into, like you would mention Shannon Tweed earlier, and then like what was her name?
I've done martial arts too.
Oh wow! Do you have a style in particular that you focus on?
I used to study legitimately with Lacombe Karate, who was like here in this area. And he said that if I actually was a real belt, he said I would be like a red belt. But the joke of it was, and I forget the specific type, because he told me I would probably swish somebody to death because I was trained to miss, because I was mostly trained in martial arts for film. So when I do a spinning crescent kick or anything, instead of moving forward like we would, right? If you're filming, do martial arts, every movement would come in. I would hold my ground and it would be like miss. So I would swish somebody to death. So no, I'm not a true person, but I was in Mark Stephen Grove, and I worked on a movie together, and we worked quite a bit. I wish I pulled that one up. There's some good stunt fighting in that. I could share with that. It'd be funny if we on another day, because now I feel like I'm taking too much time, and I don't want people to be completely bored with an hour and a half of me gabbing.
This is typically how long they go anyway. Cynthia
really?
Rothrock, that's
okay.
Now
I don't feel bad.
Cynthia Rothrock was a big one in the 80s and the 90s. Do you remember her?
Oh, I sure do. Of course I do.
Yeah, she was awesome doing the karate and those jeans and everything. It's crazy.
She's literally a freaking rock star. She's terrific. Yeah, and
there is a question here.
Yes.
It says, if you wanted to be in a movie with an actor, which, okay, so it says if you wanted
Arnold Schwarzenegger or Lou Ferrigno.
Lou Ferrigno, yeah.
Well, God, that's a trick question because Arnold Schwarzenegger would be super fun. I've actually met him before. I didn't meet him during the Terminator screening. I met him elsewhere, and he was a nice guy, you know, all good. But of course, I would love to work with Arnold. I think he'd be super fun. I'd love to direct him and work with him. But I can't answer that because I think it would be really intriguing to work with Lou Ferrigno. Really intriguing. I know he has the partial, you know, his hearing, but that would be just interesting. See, that's how I work. I mean, something different to direct him in something would be wonderful. I like doing things that are slightly off, unexpected. You know.
Sure, definitely.
That's the answer to that.
Well, yeah, if anybody else has any more questions, we'll take a few here real quick. One thing I wanted to do, like I promote my merchandising company, Hell's Heart Merch Co., as you can see there at the bottom. We always give our guests t-shirts, and we made this one for you, if you can see it.
That's wicked. I love it.
It's the RoboCop versus Terminator.
I love
from
it.
Hell's Heart Merch Co. Yeah.
I love it. Thank you.
Jim Cameron, don't sue me, because this is original work. So my
is it?
drew this out. So yeah. No, we don't do like reproductions of anything. It's all fan inspired. So yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Don't come at me, Carol Co., Andrew Vanya, Mario Casar. Don't do it. But yeah, if anybody's got any more questions, we'll take those real quick. And so, you know, one question I want to ask you is, like, you know, besides like the horse, you know, riding your horses and training your horses and whatnot, what do you do to like decompress? Like what's like just kind of a typical relaxed day like for you?
I do like to hike with my dog around. I do like to do that. And probably I'm probably hyperactive. So I'm a very active person. I really work really, really hard. And when I'm working in post-production, I'm editing a feature. I work like a crazy person, all kinds of hours. But when I do decompress, I probably do what my father used to say was like going underground, you know, like, you know, you just sit in bed, watch a good movie, you know, and just chill.
Yeah.
And my doggy curled up next to me. I could spend a whole Sunday like that. And then, you know, part of me starts to feel guilty thinking, oh my God, how terrible. You're not doing anything.
Same.
Right. Yep. But, you know, then you're like, wait a minute, I do need a recharge day because I know I'm going to be like a crazy ever ready bunny. That's an old commercial. It's aging me. ever ready.
That's
it.
That old. I remember that.
Right.
I remember that. They keep going,
yeah.
and he would bang the drum. Now I feel old. You're making me feel old.
Ding, 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 ding. Yeah. So, but you know, I know that I'm going to go like that for the rest of the week. So I try to tell myself it's okay to do a whole lot of nothing. So, and I do try to ride my horse. I try to ride him at least when I'm not like directing or something. And I'm just maybe, even if I'm doing editing, I try to ride him at least 4 or 5 times a week. You know, so that's really helpful. And right now, I mean, it's funny. I'm not even going to the gym. I'm not doing anything, and just riding my horse all the time and hiking on the time is keeping me in shape. So it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
Relaxing.
Of course.
So,
yeah. Well, and you know, if you happen to need anybody to audition for any of your films, I happen to know a guy.
For real. I mean, you serious? I'll take you up on that.
Oh yeah. I would love to. I would be honored to. I think you're doing great things. I think, you know, like I said, you're a very multifaceted woman. I think you're very talented, and I love everything that you do. Seriously.
That's
and like,
really sweet.
I'm going to show this to my buddies. And when I said that to them, like, I was like, hey, I said, guess who's going to be on the show? They're like, holy shit, really? And I was
Really?
like, yep. And, you know, oh yeah, like no,
That's so nice.
we love your music. Like I said, well, this weekend is my buddy's birthday. We're gonna go, and that will definitely be in the rotation all the time, all the time.
I
mean it.
really appreciate it. It's like
absolutely.
It is slightly comical because, like I told you earlier, like I lost my confidence when it didn't become such a big thing back in the 90s or whatever. But when people like it now and they're playing it all the time, I'll listen to it and I'm like, it's not that bad. It's by George. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, and you know, it turned up in the Terminator Resistance game, and my buddy was actually mentioning that. He was like, "Oh yeah, it's playing Burning in the Third Degree," you know, and I'm like, "Whoa, that's awesome," you know. So, did that ever see an official release?
The only official release it had was for a short period of time back then with independent label released the Terminator soundtrack.
Okay.
But I have been making my, you know, royalties and publishing money from that ever since. So it's not a bad thing. Not that it's made a fortune, but it, you know, it's like, I'm like, yay, you know, so that part's good because of it playing in the movie.
It would be amazing to have on like a limited edition vinyl, like
I know,
like a 45 or like a, you know, 33 or something like that.
I know. I would like that.
Yeah, for sure.
But
where could we go ahead?
No, you ask.
Well, I was just gonna say, where can we find you at online? You said McClure Films, and you're also on Instagram and Reddit.
Right. So McClureFilms.com is, you know, MCCLUREFILMS.com. That's my website. You can always see what films are being developed and what's going on. And then at Tané McClure on TikTok, not Tané McClure Arntz, which is my married name. There's somebody that's pretending to be me on TikTok. Whatever. I know I don't like that, but basically I'm pretty easy to find on kind of everywhere. So yeah, and you know,
absolutely,
come, you know,
find
out what I'm doing, and yeah, sure.
Please support all of her amazing projects.
Well, yeah, and literally, I'm serious. If anybody is really interested in investing in independent films, you know, hit me up. It's all legit. You know, we have, you know, people that handle that, so it's not like me. But yeah, if anybody is, just thought I'd throw that out there. But yeah, independent films takes an army of independent investors and an army of talent and an army of filmmakers, and we get it done. And
gotta have a team.
Yes, you do,
for sure.
Yeah, and I'm going to put you in one of my movies because you brought that whole thing up.
Oh,
I'll put you in one.
Awesome. Okay, it's great. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully with Eric Roberts, because I actually watched one of his movies and I almost died, but I'll tell you that story later. It's an interesting story. So, everybody, I want to thank everybody for coming and engaging in the chat, and please support Tané on all our platforms. I'll be sure to post them on the comments, and you can follow me on Instagram and X and on Twitch at the TNF Podcast. And as you can see from the banner down below, I've got a merchandising company, hellsheartco.bigcartel.com. Use code 20 for 20% off your entire order. Fine Bella Canvas and Next Level t-shirts, tri-blend, 50% polyester, 25% cotton, 25% rayon. You'll love them. They feel amazing. You saw one of them earlier. They're great. And everybody that's been listening, click on that like button, click on that subscribe button, click on the little bell for notifications for upcoming shows. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, give us a follow, give us a rating. That would be great. Ladies and gentlemen, namaste, God bless, be good. Thank you, Tané.
Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it.
Hell's Heart, lights, game, money, power.